want to start in a very simple place, something that most of us can recognize if we're really honest. That there's a subtle, almost constant movement in the mind heart that says, I wish things were different. Sometimes that voice is loud. Sometimes it's so subtle it's barely noticeable, but it's there. I wish that hadn't happened. I wish I'd done something different. I wish this feeling would go away. I wish things were more like this and less like this. And we don't question that voice. It just, well, it feels normal. But if you really start to look closely, that movement is where our suffering comes from. Our unhappiness doesn't come from life itself. It doesn't come from what actually happened. All right, our unhappiness in all of its many and varied forms comes from the mind's resistance to what is. Because life, as it unfolds, well, that includes everything. Things we like, things we don't like, things that feel good, things that are unpleasant, loss, disappointment, regret, confusion. That's just part of the deal of being a human being. That's the human condition. That's not the problem. The problem begins when the conditioned mind says, this should be different than it is. This shouldn't be here. I need, I want, they should, they shouldn't. And what's interesting is that resistance doesn't change anything. It doesn't undo what's already happened. Right? It doesn't fix the moment. It just creates a constant undercurrent of dis-ease inside of the body, inside of this mind, and we carry that. You can actually feel it if you tune in. It's like you're carrying a weight. Right? You've been carrying it for so long, you don't even know that the weight's there. Right? We don't even realize it's there anymore. It just feels like life. That this is just me. This is my life. This is just how it is. But every once in a while, right, there's a crack in that illusion, in that delusion. Every once in a while, there's a moment where something shifts. Where suddenly the weight drops, even just for a second. And in that moment, we experience a relief. There's space. There's something softer, more open, and it just feels more true. And then the mind will come rushing back in and it starts rebuilding, starts picking things back up, replaying, analyzing, judging, condemning, trying to organize the past, kind of control the imagined future, trying to make everything again line up the way we want it. So it can finally again feel okay. But here's the deeper insight. It's not the past that weighs us down. The past is gone. It's merely now an activated memory trace. The past is gone. What weighs us down is the way that we are constantly relating to the past right now. The thoughts about the past, the stories about the past, the meaning we've assigned to the past, the identity that we have built up around the past. And underneath all of that is resistance. A very simple, very human no. No, this shouldn't have happened. This isn't how I want it to have been. And that no, that's what is the source of our constant suffering in this moment. So then the question becomes, what does it mean to stop resisting what is? What does it mean to just accept what is? And this is where people get confused, because acceptance can sometimes sound like passivity, giving up, like saying, all right, just everything's fine. Or even there's nothing I can do. But that's not what this letting go or not resisting is. Not at all. Acceptance simply means this: recognizing that this moment right now is already the way it is. The past has already happened. This feeling that I'm having is already here. The situation that I'm experiencing is already unfolding. And no amount of fighting it changes that. So, acceptance is not approval. Acceptance is an inner energetic phenomenon. It's not agreement, it's not passivity, it's clarity. It's simply the most sane recognition that if I stop arguing with reality, even for a moment, something relaxes. And from that place, there's actually more intelligence, more capacity, more ability to respond. Because when the mind and heart are caught in this constant resistance to what is, it gets tight, constricted, reactive, narrow. But when that resistance softens, even just a little bit, we can touch into a space. And in that space, something else becomes available. You can feel it. There's a difference between fighting what happens and simply being with it. One contracts, the other opens. And here's the part that really matters. Letting go isn't something that you do, because it's not you that's not letting go. It's what happens when you just see the holding on there. When you simply stop interfering, stop holding on. And we don't usually see that unconscious holding. It's subtle. It shows up as a replaying of a conversation. revisiting a memory, a non-forgiveness, a resentment, a grievance, a telling of a story about who we are based on what has already been. And every time we do that, we're reinforcing it. We're actually carrying it forward. So the practice isn't, how do I get rid of this? The practice is, can I notice that there's holding on or resistance happening? And in that noticing, in that seeing of resistance happening, there's already a small release happening. You don't have to force anything. You don't have to fix anything. Just see it. Feel it. But don't add to it. Because what you'll start to discover is that everything that arises, thoughts, emotions, sensations, they move, they change, they pass. Unless we hold on to them. And this is where mindfulness becomes very real. Not as a concept, but as a lived experience. You begin to notice all the small movements of resistance throughout the day. Dozens, hundreds. Something doesn't go your way. A thought appears, a feeling tightens in the body. And instead of immediately reacting, you pause and just notice, there's that movement. And maybe just a little, you can sense a softening. Not trying to make it go away, just not feeding it with reacting to it. And each time you do that, you're teaching the system, all right, this natural intelligence that the body and mind have. You're teaching it, all right, something new. You're showing it. It doesn't have to hold everything so tightly. And over time, that becomes a new way of being in the world. Now, there's one more piece here, because sometimes there's a fear that if I stop resisting, if I just allow what is, the past, the present, to be as it is, if I stop holding on to all of this, will I lose something? Will I lose my identity, my story, my sense of who I am? But what you will actually lose is the suffering. You don't lose your life. You don't lose your memories. And I'm talking from experience. You don't lose your ability to care. In fact, all of those things, all right, that grows. Instead, you lose the weight that you've been carrying. Right? And what's left is something so much more natural, much more at ease. And from that place, you can still act, now you can choose. You can still move through your life in the direction that matters, but you're no longer being compelled or urged or driven. You're not compelled or driven by resistance, by craving, by the need for things to be different than they are. Instead, you're wisely responding from a place of clarity. And that changes everything. So this isn't about fixing the past. It's not about trying to create the perfect future. It's about learning how to be with what is. And right here, right now, if you are completely with what is, and there's no interference, no resistance, we have a word for that. I sense it's like absolute pure contentment, gratitude. Yeah. Because every single moment gives us an opportunity. Every moment gives you that opportunity. So just begin here, right? And pay attention. Notice if there is resistance happening. Then soften around it. Let things be just as they are. Just let them be just as they are and see what happens. All right, so let's do a guided meditation on that topic. All right. Let's begin by just arriving. No need to do anything just yet. Just be here. No need to change anything. Just arrive. And let the body settle. However it's choosing to settle. Let the breath be exactly as it already is. No control, no fixing, just feeling. And just notice, experience the experience that you're having is already happening. There's never been an experience that you've ever had that hasn't already happened. Sound, sensation, thought, breath, all of it already here. Nothing needs to be created. Nothing needs to be earned. Bring attention gently to the breath, not to control it, just to feel it. Where do you notice it most clearly? The nose, chest, belly? Let attention rest there, very lightly. And at the same time, let your awareness stay wide and open, not narrow, not tight, just aware of the whole field. The body sitting or laying down, sounds in the space. So now there's two things happening at once. Attention, resting gently on the breath, resting gently on the sensations of the breath, and awareness, open to everything else. And this is the balance. This is mindfulness. And if attention drifts, that's not a problem. That's part of the process. Just gently bring it back. Resting attention on the sensations of the breath. opening awareness to allow everything else in on the background. And we do this just again and again and again and again. No judgment. Attention, forgetting, remembering, non-judgmentally returning. Attention, awareness. At some point, you'll realize that you've been off in a memory or a anticipation or a planning, and again, just non-judgmentally returning. Now, begin to notice something very subtle. The mind and heart, they're not neutral. There's always some way that we're relating to what is happening. It likes, it doesn't like, it wants, it resists, it leans toward, it pulls away. Just notice that movement, not intellectually, but notice it directly. Maybe the breath feels pleasant, maybe neutral, maybe slightly uncomfortable. And notice, does the mind try to change it? And this is important because our suffering, our dissatisfaction, our discontent, our dis-ease isn't coming from the breath. It's coming from a relationship to the breath, to what's happening. Just see that. Do so gently, no judgment here. We're just noticing. All right. Now we're going to shift to something very subtle. Not the experience itself, but how the mind is meeting the experience. So bring your attention back to the breath for a moment. Feel the next inhale. Feel the next exhale. And instead of just observing it from a distance, see if you can receive it as if the breath is being given to you, not being produced or controlled by you. See if you can have that subtle shift in the nature of your attention. Let the inhale come in and meet it with an openness. Let the exhale leave and don't interfere with it, just allow it. Now gently bring in this quality of welcoming, not forcing, not pretending, just a quiet willingness. And sometimes you might even say internally, very softly, silently, this too. Breath, this too. Sensation, this too. Sound, this too. No experience is outside of the practice. Nothing needs to be pushed away. Now, expand awareness a bit wider. Include the whole body sitting here. The weight of the body, points of contact, temperature. And again, receive all of it. Not analyzing, not improving, just allowing. If there's tension, let that tension be here. If there's ease, let it be here. Now notice something else. When our experience is allowed, when there isn't any resistance to what is, the mind and heart begins to soften. And in that softening, there's often a very quiet, almost subtle sense of okayness, contentedness, perhaps a gratitude. Not excitement, not necessarily pleasure, just nothing is wrong right now. Stay close to that okayness. Let attention rest on the sensations of the breath while awareness holds everything else. And if the mind wanders, thinking, planning, remembering, just gently come back. No judgment. Again and again. Receive, allow, reveal, and just feel. Now, we're not going to try to create joy. That's important because the moment that we try to create it, we're back into grasping. Instead, we're going to notice what happens when nothing is being resisted. So just check in right now. Check in with yourself. Is there any part of your experience, just do this silently to yourself, is there any part of my experience that there's some part of me that's resisting, that's pushing against? Is there any place in me that could be labeled a no? Just be curious. Maybe a sensation, a thought, a feeling. And just for a moment, see if you can turn that no to a yes. From resistance to letting go. Allow experience to be exactly as it already is. Now feel it, the breath again. Very simple, very ordinary. And notice when the mind and heart aren't fighting, even something neutral like breathing can feel pleasant, enjoyable. And stay with that. Don't exaggerate it, don't analyze it, just notice. Now widen awareness again. Include all the sounds in the space around you. The whole field. And again, check in and see if there's a quiet shift toward an inner ease. Perhaps you notice the body softening a little. Maybe the face relaxes. Maybe the breath becomes more natural, longer, slower, deeper. Maybe not. And this is how joy begins, not as intensity, but as a change in how the mind is functioning. The mind begins to orient toward what is simple, toward what's enough. In time, experience becomes enough. So stay there. Receiving, allowing, not interfering. And if nothing feels different, that's completely okay. Just keep practicing the allowing, the awareness, and not interfering. Now, bring attention back to the sensations of the breath again. Steady, simple. And notice attention is here. Awareness is open. The sensations of the breath in the foreground, everything else in the background. And the more that this stabilizes, the less effort's required. See if you can feel that less doing, more allowing. The breath is happening, awareness is happening, and you're not managing it. And as the mind and heart stop pulling in different directions, maybe you'll notice that there's less internal conflict. Less noise. And in that, perhaps a quiet ease. And just rest there. Let attention stay with the breath. Let awareness stay open. You'll notice that attention and awareness always try to contract. Notice it. Expand awareness back out. Again and again. If thoughts arise, let them pass. If sensations arise, let them pass. Nothing needs to be held. Nothing needs to be pushed away. Just this unfolding. Now, begin to feel the body a bit more clearly now. Notice the weight of the body. Notice the contact with the chair or cushion, the ground. Notice the space around you, sounds. And take one slightly deeper breath, not forced, just a little fuller. And let's end this meditation with a quiet reflection that joy isn't something that you chase. It's something that begins to appear. It just begins to arise when the mind stops resisting what's already here. And the more that we practice this, the more that we start to recognize that there's a quiet okayness that's always available, even in very ordinary moments. And that's where this path really begins.